Well, the Eagles fell off a cliff. What a ugly, ugly, ugly way to end the year, end the last like 8 games of the year for the Philadelphia Eagles. Was this a total shocker? Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that they started off 10-1 and they were literally on their way to clinching the first seed in the NFC, but no, in the sense of if you really go back to last year, everything went right for the Eagles. Everything. They had the easiest schedule that I've seen in a long, long, long time. If you don't believe me, if you don't remember, go back to that 2022, 2023 year and look at who they played. And look how close some of those games were. Give it a look. Give it a look. That's all I gotta say. But for this year, they fell off a cliff. I mean, locker room issues, coaching issues, quarterback play issues, leadership issues, just defensive issues. Just as a whole, they really just collapsed like dominoes, just within each other. They ate each other alive internally. They bought their own hype, and their hype was just fluff. I mean, it started with the Jets. I mean, you lose to Zach Wilson and the New York Jets. That should have been the biggest red flag ever, but we waved it off. And it turned out to be the beginning of the end. Sometimes each year in the NFL season, whichever team wins the Super Bowl always has a good part of the season, a rough part of the season, and a championship side of the season. Every championship team goes through rough patches throughout the season. The Eagles started 10-1 this year. Then they hit a rough patch of the 49ers, the Cowboys, yada yada. That was their rough patch in the schedule. That was their rough patch in the season. Instead of coming together, instead of having good leadership, good coaching in the locker room, instead of rallying with each other, they took away play calling duties from their defensive coordinator and they gave them to Matt Patricia. After his stint with the Detroit Lions and how many players came out afterwards just calling him a complete incompetent moron, the fact that he still has a career in the NFL outside of the New England Patriots is baffling to me. And the Eagles decided to give him play calling duties. Matt Patricia. Wow. And he was awful. Surprise, surprise. Yeah, I could talk about the defense for the next 20 minutes and just say how awful they were in 100 different ways, but like even a person who has no vision can see just truly awful defense, just a truly atrocious defense. And I mean, full display on the Bucks. I mean, it's a 101. It's a 101. If you can't tackle, like, what are we even saying at this point? Beyond that, I'm just going to focus on Jalen Hurts for right now. That contract he got was understandable. I mean, he capitalized on his value. I get it. MVP, close season. So, good for him for getting his bag. When he did get that contract, I was in the middle. I thought he definitely had one good season, but I needed to see more. Obviously, he's a good ball carrier, good ball runner, but throwing, being a complete quarterback is still a huge question mark, especially going into next year. I still don't know if he could be a consistent thrower of the ball at a high level. I hope he is. I hope he improves because it's exciting when he's throwing to A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith and Dallas Goedert. Those guys are ballers, man, and it's fun when the Eagles are good. Like, A.J. Brown's a beast when he gets the ball. Devontae Smith is so slippery. It's such a good offense to watch when they're clicking. But I don't know. Jalen Hurts, I don't know if he's a good leader or not. I don't know if he's got the locker room on his side right now. And that's a major concern. If your quarterback isn't a leader of men, isn't in control of the majority of the locker room, that's a huge issue, especially if you're paying a guy like $500 million, right? That's just a huge issue. So, I don't know. I'm rooting for Jalen Hurts, but I don't know. He's got a lot of work to do. Like I said about the weapons, they're solid. Even their RBs, like Swift had a pretty good year. I think Gainwell is a solid third down running back. Obviously, it sucks to lose Kelsey, but, it was kind of inevitable. But the biggest issue and the glaring issue is Nick Sirianni. I'm just going to come out and say it. I'm not a huge fan of him, of like screaming and being pompous and just yelling and acting like an idiot like most of the time. I'm not into that. I know some people are, some people aren't. I'm not into that. I just think a head coach should just have a little more class and stoicism, but hey, that's me. And that's the thing. If you're winning and you're posting like almost undefeated seasons, talk your shit. Do your walk. Wave the Italian flag like every single game. I don't care what you do, but like you can't do that when you go out like that and you finish the season, like 1-7, whatever it was. I just think he got exposed this year, man. I just think he got exposed. I mean, without Shane Steichen, let's call it what it is, the offense was ass all year, essentially. I mean, Shane Steichen really was the root of all the success the Eagles had from their Super Bowl year. So, you take away Shane Steichen, it's just like, what do you really have to offer this offense and this team? Because it's not leadership, it's not inspiration, because your team imploded. So he has no control over the locker room, he has no control over his stars. He doesn't really call the best plays, Exhibit A, the majority of this year, except for the tush push. A great invention, by the way, but if that's all you got to offer, it's kind of like, okay, well, thank you, but what else you got? I just think this team is too talented to have a season end the way it did, and I just think that's all on Sirianni. And if it was any other year, I would say run it back for one more year at least, because the previous year they made it to the Super Bowl and they had a great year, but the coaching pool available to everyone this year is once in a lifetime. Like, it's an elite group. Bill Belichick, Harbaugh, Mike Vrabel. I mean, what are we saying? I would want, if I were an Eagles fan, If I was Howie, if I was Lurie, I would give Mike Vrabel a call. Behind closed doors, so there's no tampering or whatever. You need a leader of men. You need a man's man. You need a guy who's been there and done it. And he just looks like he's from Philly, man. Like, he's just like a tough, hard-nosed, inspiring, a guy you want to run through a brick wall for. Vrabel is an elite coach. I'm telling you, Vrabel is an elite coach. What he did with Tennessee and those rosters and all the success he had, he turned dirt into gold. And right now, the Eagles roster is gold. He could turn the Eagles roster to another ring. In conclusion, they just need someone to right the ship. They need someone to bring the whole team back together, to unify them. Because right now, if they have another bad season, who knows? They could lose A.J. Brown. Who knows what will happen with Jalen Hurts and just the entire aura, the fan base. They're on such thin ice right now, and they're too talented to be on thin ice. So they need a guy to bring it all together. They need a guy's guy. They need Mike Vrabel. Sirianni, I'd fire him respectfully in the most respectful way possible, and I'd get Vrabel in there tomorrow to just get it going again. I think football is a lot better when the Eagles are competitive, the Cowboys are competitive, and the entire NFC East is competitive. So, Eagles fans, NFL fans, because it's interesting to fire a coach after 2 years after making a Super Bowl appearance is pretty bold. So, it's quite an interesting question. But let me know what you all think. That's all I got for right now. Peace.